A funny Sherlock Holmes detective story from the South Korea that uncovers a ridiculous comedy-like incident. The National Election Commission (NEC) claims they didn't create fake cabbage leaf-like ballots. Yet, they release a video showing themselves making them, confessing to election fraud through a manipulated explanation demonstration video. Just like someone denying they committed murder while releasing a video of themselves committing the murder. When viewing on a mobile phone, please view on a large screen. In early voting, as you can see on the screen, you go to the polling place, present your resident registration card, and receive 2 ballots. One black and white ballot for your local district and one green-colored proportional representation ballot, printed from a single printer. Unlike the same-day ballots, the early voting ballots have a QR code that the arrow on the screen points to. The same-day ballot papers are printed in advance on a printer press at a printing house and placed at the polling site on the day of the election, while the early voting ballot papers are printed on a printer at the early voting site. So the early voting ballot papers cannot have been printed on a printer press at a printing house. 3 years ago, during the recount of the South Korean 21st National Assembly elections, in several places, strangely shaped ballots with the words proportional representation written diagonally on a light green background were found on the bottom quarter of the black and white district ballots, as you can see on the screen. These are the famous so-called cabbage leaf ballots. Many printers with decades of experience say that this is something that can never be printed on a printer connected to a computer, and that this kind of thing happens occasionally on the printing press of printing house. They point out that this is a mistake that occurred when printing proportional representation ballots and district ballots in large quantities on the same printer press. That is, if you look at the QR code that the arrow on the screen is pointing to, it should have come from a printer connected to the computer. But it is a fake ballot that came from a printing press at a printing house and did not exist at the time of the original vote and was later shoved into the ballot box. This caused a huge sensation and spread like wildfire. So the National Election Commission created a video demonstration to explain the situation and posted it on its website.
There was a suspicion that the ballot papers were fake ballots printed in bulk by the printing press at the printing house. However, as you can see, the election official was holding the already printed regional ballot papers so that they did not fall down. And when the considerably long proportional representation ballot papers came out, the regional ballot papers were rolled inside, which may have caused some of them to be printed overlapping.
The claim is that this was not printed on a press in a print house, but came from a printer connected to a computer. One side claims that the ballot came from a printing press at a printing house and the other side claims that it came from a printer connected to a computer. Unless they fell from the sky, one of them is lying. If it came from a printing press at a printing house, it is a fake ballot that did not exist at the time of the original vote and was later shoved into the ballot box, which means there was election fraud, so this is a serious problem. In the demonstration video of the National Election Commission's explanation, on the screen, what stands out is the strange proportional representation ballot paper that came out of the printer with the cabbage leaf ballot paper. The cabbage leaf ballot paper from the Incheon Yeonsu-ul district that appears on the screen has a marked mark that the arrow point out. In other words, it was given to the voter and stamped with a voting stamp. However, this statement is proven false in the subsequent explanation. On the screen, the proportional representation ballot paper that came out with the cabbage leaf ballot paper from the printer has several blank spaces that the arrows points to, so the voter cannot vote on it, so it has to be reissued. Then, since the election manager who issues it knows that the cabbage leaf ballot paper is strange, shouldn't he also reissue the regional ballot paper when reissuing the proportional representation ballot paper? Why is it so difficult to reissue the ballot paper from the printer? It makes no sense to just give the strange cabbage leaf ballot paper and reissue only the proportional representation ballot paper. And isn't it strange that there was a person who voted without raising any objection with the normal proportional representation ballot paper that was reissued, and the strange cabbage leaf ballot paper? Shouldn't this person say, since you're reissuing it, please reissue the cabbage leaf ballot paper too? Both the issuing person and the recipient are acting like they have 2-digit IQs. It's a strange situation that doesn't make sense at all. Considering this strange situation, it's highly likely that the National Election Commission lied. Still, we have to make it sure, so I tried it as shown in the demonstration video of the National Election Commission. When the long lime-colored proportional representation ballot paper is printed, I put the short white district ballot paper inside the top of the proportional representation ballot paper, but it doesn't go in well. After bending your knees and putting it in with both hands for 15 attempts, I managed to get it into the inside of the proportional representation ballot by looking closely at the exit of the printer and putting it in a zigzag pattern when it usually doesn't go straight. The gap at the entrance of the National Election Commission's large printer is a little high, but the rollers turn quickly, so it's almost impossible for the National Election Commission to put it in reverse in one go. Of course, you can experiment with a large printer like the National Election Commission's, but it's not necessary, as explained at the end of this video. Therefore, there is no need to explain further. Let's say you put it inside. I will continue for the purpose of uncovering the process out of curiosity and interest. Like a detective story about Sherlock Holmes. If the regional ballot paper is covering from above, it is natural that the print will be on the regional ballot paper above and the proportional ballot paper below will be blank. Local district ballot paper, which was come out from above, also known as the famous cabbage leaf ballot paper. Here is the long green proportional representation ballot paper from below. Up until now, the topic has been cabbage leaf ballot papers, but from now on, the topic will be proportional representation ballot papers. These are the local district and proportional representation ballots from the National Election Commission's explanation demonstration. However, the proportional representation ballot paper on the left of the screen, which is the one that was demonstrated by the National Election Commission, and the proportional representation ballot paper that just came out of the printer on the right are very different. The former one was put in once by the Election Commission, and the latter one was put in once by me. There is absolutely no reason to put it in more than twice. As shown in the arrow, the proportional representation ballot is covered below, leaving a blank space. Afterwards, the upper and lower papers will proceed together and print normally in the area indicated by the blue arrow on the proportional ballot below. In other words, there should be only one blank space. But on the proportional representation ballot paper on the left, there are 6 blank spaces that the arrows are pointing to. It's bizarre. I thought deeply about why this happened and tried next steps, and I found out the answer. I did an experiment where I put it in 6 times. Came out together. The one on the left is a regional ballot paper, and the one on the right is a proportional representation ballot paper. Let's take a look at what came out of the National Election Commission's explanation demonstration and what came out after I put it in 6 times. The left is from the National Election Commission, and the right is from my experiment. Now, all of both the regional and proportional representation ballots are similar. It's similar in that there are 6 blanks. In other words, if you put it in once and cover the proportional ballot paper underneath it once, there will be 1 blank space on the proportional ballot paper. If you put it in twice and cover it twice, there will be 2 blank spaces. If you put it in 6 times and cover it 6 times, there will be 6 blank spaces. This is an obvious truth. Then, the fact that the National Election Commission only put in once, but there were 6 blank spaces means that it is not a ghost's work, but manipulation. Haven't you seen AI making videos these days? It is not impossible. The fact that the National Election Commission manipulated it means that there was election fraud. If they had just made it 1 space blank, I wouldn't have suspected it, but why did they make it 6 spaces? And they got caught. As you can see from the arrows on the screen, aren't there many black lines on the cabbage leaves? I think they probably made it several times to match this and try to make it look plausible. This is a big mistake, and monkeys fall from trees. For example, if someone lies about getting cola from a well, and many people tell them not to lie, it's like making a manipulated video of cola coming out of a well to explain it. Why did they make a false explanation by manipulating the video? Didn't they make the manipulated video to cover up the election fraud? This video has another important meaning. It was meant to clarify that it was not fake, but it ended up confirming that it was fake. It's like adding insult to injury. The conclusion is that the cabbage leaf ballot papers they made were made by forcibly manipulating the video and did not come from a printer at the early voting site. So what the printers say is true and what they say is false. Saying that what they say is false means that there was election fraud. There's something else that doesn't make sense.
There was a suspicion that the ballot papers were fake ballots printed in bulk by the printing press at the printing house. However, as you can see, the election official was holding the already printed regional ballot papers so that they did not fall down. And when the considerably long proportional representation ballot papers came out, the regional ballot papers were rolled inside, which may have caused some of them to be printed overlapping.
Let's watch the nonsensical parts in slow motion for an accurate analysis.
The election official was holding the already printed regional ballot papers.
Although he said the election official was holding the already printed regional ballot paper, he was not just holding on, but putting it inside. Here's another one.
The regional ballot papers were rolled inside.
He say that the regional ballot papers were rolled inside. But how can they get rolled inside unless the rollers turn in reverse? Does this make sense? This is a poorly done manipulation. They will argue that the claims made in this video so far are wrong because they are different from home printers and the large printers of the National Election Commission at the polling place. The same results would have been obtained if the same experiment had been conducted with a large printer, but there is no need to do so because the process of printing one line on an inkjet printer and then moving the paper forward to print the next line is the same principle for a small printer or a large printer used by the National Election Commission. In other words, the principle of inserting once and covering once creates one blank space. Inserting twice creates 2 spaces, and inserting 6 times creates 6 spaces is the same for both printers. In other words, the fact that 6 blank spaces cannot be created by inserting only once is the same for both printers. Therefore, whether it is done on a small printer or a large printer, the manipulation of the video is the same. There is no need for difficult statistics, laws of large numbers, or server verification that those who claim there was election fraud cite as evidence. This one video is enough to make it clear that there was election fraud. Isn't it like releasing a video of someone committing a murder while claiming they didn't commit it, or releasing a video of someone making a fake ballot while claiming they didn't make one? It's so ridiculous that I have to say it's a really funny comedy. Thank you for watching.